From the field to the card shop, it's Moon 3PO and no BroPo talking baseball and the hottest sports cards. Yes, you heard the intro correct. There's no BroPo. There's going to be no BroPo here for the next about give or take 2 weeks here. For those who didn't tune into the wrestling podcast that we do, collecting the 1, 2, 3 with our interview with Adam, you would know that BroPo is now a father of two. Let's give it up for BroPo, father of two. Let's get some claps in here. Hopefully, programming. So hopefully, I was able to get this soundboard finally going. Let's give BroPo another round of applause. Congrats to BroPo on the father of two. But yes, he will not be here for about 2 weeks. Obviously, that is more important than doing a baseball podcast. But he will be back, and we'll be back to our normal scheduled programming, both on Cardboard Dugout and collecting the 1, 2, 3. So it will be just a one-man show for a little bit, kicking it back to the old days. If you guys have been following Cardboard Dugout, you guys would know that I did the first 2 episodes, the pilot episode, the introduction episode, and technically episode 2 or episode 1, however that works, by myself, which was pretty interesting. And then after that, BroPo came along, and we've obviously have never looked back. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit here. I didn't want to go a full week. Oh, technically it's going to be a full week. You'll be hearing this episode out on Monday. I'm recording this on Saturday night, but didn't want to go like a week or 2 weeks without, not putting out anything to the Cardboard Dugout. Obviously we've done some videos on YouTube. So if you guys want to go check out those YouTube videos, you can follow me or check it out at Moon3PO. But yeah, didn't want to ignore the podcasting. I know some people tune into the podcast, both audio and video format. So definitely didn't want to ignore that. And I ripped open some blasters of Topps Heritage. I did a mega celebration box. I was like, hey, why not? Let's turn on the camera. Let's get onto the studio and just record a little bit. Because there has been a lot of news in baseball. But obviously, it's kind of... I'm not gonna lie, it's very difficult doing a one-man show podcast, but we're gonna work through it. There's been a lot that's been going on. We have some contract extensions. We're going to talk about that a little bit. There's an interesting story on The Athletic. We're going to read it together for the first time. That came with a player that got an extension that's dealing with autographs and dealing with trading cards. So I thought that would be fun to talk about that a little bit. And then, we could talk a little bit maybe about torpedo bats, depending how long we can go. There's really not much to say much more about the torpedo bats. I feel like if you, are a follower of baseball or, a baseball fan in general, you're pretty aware of what a torpedo bat is. Maybe we could talk a little bit about it, and maybe one day we'll see some Topps auto or top relics with some torpedo bats. But let's talk about the extensions, because the extensions is what... It was very exciting to me. Obviously, there's 2 of them that we're going to talk about that deal with my Boston Red Sox. One of them being Garrett Crochet, who signed a 6-year, $170 million extension, which then the next day was then followed by Christian Campbell. He signed an 8-year, $60 million extension. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to go into that into more detail, because that, to me, is more of the crazier one, and the one that seems like a win for the Red Sox. And nothing against Christian Campbell. Love Christian Campbell, but man, I feel like he could have got more. So maybe his agency kind of did something there. I don't know. But I watched his press conference, and he seems like a real just simple kid, wanted the best for him and his family. And obviously that does that for him. So never going to doubt anybody for getting a bag. So kudos to Christian Campbell on that. But we'll dive a little bit deeper into his contract extension. And then we got Jackson Merrill, who signed a 9-year, $135 million deal with the San Diego Padres. And then obviously before that, we had Kyle Riley, who signed a 6-year, $105, staying with the Mariners. Lawrence Butler signed a 7-year, $65.5 million. So he's going to be in Sacramento and then eventually in Las Vegas for quite some time. And then we had the Arizona Diamondbacks rework and restructure their deal with Ketel Marte. So he's going to be with the D-backs until 2030. He was originally only going to be signed till 2027, but he will be there till 2030. So yeah, a lot of extensions. It's a little bit surprising for me, especially the Garrett Crochet deal, because if you're a Red Sox fan or have been following Garrett Crochet for a little bit, you guys would know that the story all of spring training was that once opening day hit, he was not going to talk any contract extension, and was going to let the year play out, and then they will revisit back in December, winter meetings, whatever the case may be. And as a Red Sox fan, that had me worried a little bit, because with every start, there's no denying this dude is absolutely filthy. Red Sox Nation has declared him as a pig, and what it means by that is that he's just absolutely filthy. He's a true ace. We haven't had an ace since, we would say, Chris Sale, and even though Chris Sale dealt with some injuries for the later part of the year, but like, there's no denying the run that he had in 2017, 2018. So we haven't had that guy since Chris Sale. So with every start that he's showing that he can do this, and be a true bona fide starter, that price tag is just going up and up and up. And maybe that number starts with the 3 and not with the 1. So that to me was, as a Red Sox fan, was probably the thing that we worried about the most. And a good example of that was what he did the day after the contract extension. Got the contract extension on an off day, and then from there, went and shoved against the Baltimore Orioles through 8 shutout innings for the first time in his MLB career. Has not done that, I believe, since college. So it was something that, was on the back of Red Sox Nation's mind, behind everybody in the media. So glad the Red Sox were able to get that done, and we have Garrett Crochet here for the next 6 years and hopefully more, because I think he is going to be a Red Sox for life. I think he is a guy that just fits the mold of what, a Red Sox player is, a guy that just wants to win, built for the media, built for the city of champions. So yeah, absolutely love Garrett Crochet. Glad to have him here for Onward. Now, the deal that we want to talk about a little bit here is the Christian Campbell. Again, that was an 8-year, $60 million deal, and I'm reading this here off The Athletic. So the deal runs through 2032 with options for 2023 and 2034. The deal does include a $2 million signing bonus with club options of $19 million in 2023 with a $4 million buyout and a $21 in 2034. This is what I read that I was like, this was just crazy to me. So his deals, and so 2024 he's still making the league minimum. 2025 he's gonna make $1 million. 2026 $2 million. 2027 $3 million. 2028 $4 million. 2029 $6 million. 2030 $9 million. 2031 $13 million, and 2032 $16 million. That to me is crazy. Like, he's shown here in his brief stint that he is an MVP caliber player. And for him, let's say in 2027, he's a potential MVP. Your 2027 MVP is only going to make $3 million. That is absolutely crazy. And it says here, due 2021 and 2032, those base salaries can increase. $2 million for MVP winner, $1 million for second or third place MVP, $500,000 for fourth or fifth place MVP, and $250,000 for sixth through 10th, and $200,000 for an all-star selection. He does also join Cedinne Rafaela, who signed an 8-year, $50 million deal. That deal was kind of, not really needed, but still I thought it was a good deal. And also Brian Bale, who signed a 6-year, $55 million. Yeah, if you guys have been watching Red Sox baseball, or if you guys even, listened to the last episode where we did our preseason predictions for awards, we both had Christian Campbell being the AL MVP, and not AL MVP. Oh, damn it. If he wants to win an AL MVP, please do so. I'm not telling you no. But we had both BroPo and I had Christian Campbell as AL Rookie of the Year. So that's just of a special talent he is. He's primarily being second right now, but you can play him in left field. You can play him at center. I'm pretty sure he could play a little bit of third as well. But, second base is the primary position for him, which we haven't had a true second baseman since Dustin Pedroia, which is absolutely crazy to me. I don't know what the list is, but that list is long as far as who've played second base. We had Connor Wong playing second base, Justin Turner playing second base. I think maybe, Blake Swihart. I would not be surprised if Blake Swihart is on that list. So the fact that we have Christian Campbell locked up, to me, that also screams that they have also learned this is not a Mookie Betts 2.0 type situation where you're letting him, invest, get better as a ball player, and that price tag just goes up. Or even a Rafael Devers, extension where, he's on the last year of his deal. The team, I love Rafael Devers. That contract was well deserved, but there's no denying the fact that that team and that ownership at that time and that group with Chaim Bloom was desperate to have somebody there. You just traded away Mookie Betts, which that deal looks terrible. You just lost Xander Bogaerts, and now you're going to let Rafael Devers potentially walk. There's no way they were going to let that happen. So that pressure was definitely on that ownership and definitely on Chaim Bloom to get something done. So you're not putting yourself in that position again with Christian Campbell, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to put yourself in that position with Roman Anthony, which I believe from what I've heard from other podcasts on Section 10 is that Roman Anthony is not in favor, or he's not willing to I can't speak right now, not willing to listen to a contract extension at this time. I'm pretty sure that the Red Sox obviously want to get that done, but I think right now he's kind of like in the Tristan Casas boat where, they made, I don't think a deal was made at Casas, or to Roman Anthony, but, with Casas, they made him a deal, he rejected it, and now the Red Sox are just kind of in a position where, Casas hasn't really done anything to really deserve an extension, and I think, just with all the trade rumors that he's been involved, why are you going to give a player a contract extension when you're trying to move him, or been trying to consistently move him for, the past 2 off seasons or so. So I think Roman Anthony, they want to get it done, but, he's kind of in that camp where nope, I'm going to wait a little bit, go out and ball out, and kind of let my agency go in and deal with that. And Marcelo Meyer, while I think he's going to be, a great player out of the big 3, he's personally my favorite. He's just really personable. I love the interviews that he does. He's a good guy as well. I think Marcelo's a little bit behind as far as of that, just because he hasn't played, he's barely playing his first string of AAA games right now. And, obviously has had some concerns with health. That's been the big thing with Marcelo. So I think he's a little bit farther away from, that potential, that contract extension. And also, there's no denying of the long jam that we have in the infield. Obviously, Christian Campbell is now your second baseman. He's now locked up. Trevor Story is here for a little bit longer. Alex Bregman's a little bit of a shorter term deal, but that's 3-4 years. And he has an opt out after every year. But when you really think about it, is Alex Bregman really going to opt out? Like, what team is going to give him $40 million? I really don't see that happening. So I think he's going to be here for the next couple of years. So. And obviously, like we just talked about, Rafael Devers is here, now at the DH position. So I don't see, obviously nothing's going to happen with that. So I think Marcelo, though, that's a player you're willing to be more patient with. But, Roman Anthony, you want that done as soon as possible. And Christian Campbell, you already got that done, which you got to give a shout out to Craig Breslow and ownership. When Craig Breslow came in, it was more of a thing of, who is he? Is he just another baseball nerd? Is he just another guy from, whatever high tier university that, is all about numbers and things like that? But the fact that he's came in, he's made moves that, maybe weren't, Chaim wasn't allowed to or didn't have the resources, but there's no denying the moves that he's made. If that's being trades, the extensions, signing players, things like that. So, yeah, got to give our tip of the cap to our boy Craig Breslow. Now, a contract extension that we want to talk about here is going to be Jackson Merrill. Now, while Jackson Merrill, that's a great deal for both, him and the San Diego Padres. The reason why I want to talk about Jackson Merrill is not because of the contract extension, but is because of his autograph. Now, if you guys are not too familiar, Jackson Merrill, if you guys follow his cards closely, you guys will see that, in numerous of cards that have came out, his autograph has slightly changed, or it's been changing drastically. There's a great tweet here. It's by Casey MCDD, KASEY MCDD. So they put out a tweet here that shows all the types of different variations that Jackson Merrill has put out. There's one with just it looks like it's just a J and an M. There's some with a J and like a little bit of a description. There's one with just like a JM, like a real bad sticker auto on a chrome card. Some longer, and then like one with a J, like a long space in between, then the M. So very inconsistent, but The Athletic put out an article. Now, I saw this briefly. I have not read it thoroughly, but I kind of want to read it together so we can kind of get an idea of what this talks about. So it talks about here. So yeah, it kind of goes what we just talked about here. The industry trove of autographed Merrill cards includes unusually expensive array of distinct and often nondescript signatures. Some consist of a scribbled J and a little else. Others contain multiple letters, some flourishes, and even Merrill's uniform number 3. And it talks about here, and then Jackson Merrill says, well, when you're signing a box of 3,000 cards from Topps, you don't want to sit there and have a long autograph. In the beginning, I was just doing J and then evolved a little bit. I kind of just wanted to change it on certain things, like certain more important items, like one-of-one stuff. If I was feeling nice one day, maybe I'd do a couple more intensive autographs. But most of the time, dude, I just want to get in and get out, Merrill added. It's not that I don't care about cards and stuff. It's just like that's not my thing, you know? If you didn't have an interest in something, you wouldn't want to do it either. That's just kind of how I feel. That's just kind of how I do it. And it says here, Merrill never has considered himself much of a card collector. He recalled in an interview last summer having a binder when I was little, but I didn't know what good cards were. The topic has been raised by a reporter inquiring about a case of mistaken identity on Merrill's first card as a BroPo player. If you guys don't know, Jackson Merrill's first Bowman autograph, that's not even his first Bowman image. It's somebody else, and his actual Bowman card with his actual image is technically considered his first Bowman auto. And then it says here, yet Merrill does take the time to sign cards and other items for fans, especially young supporters and those who interact with him in person. He often is the first Padres player at the ballpark, allowing him to complete his daily preparation before he engages with the crowd. And talks about how he signed some couple of things there. And though he may not be a card enthusiast, he can generally spot the more valuable collectibles. I think the more important stuff is worth more, so it should have a better signature, Merrill said. That's just my opinion. And then it says here, why not a middle ground for, well, just about everything? And then it says here, I've had a new one lately, and it's evolved like a version of both, Merrill. So it's a J, kind of like a scribble, and then an M and a swoosh. .3, it's easier, not disrespectful, I guess, except to card collectors who hate me. And then the article says, card collectors who hate me, oh yeah, they're mad at me. And I'm like, I'm not even doing anything wrong, Merrill said. Everybody saw that I threw a box of cards away in AA, but I really didn't. That wasn't me. And then it says here, Merrill had been in position in those cards at least for a little while. Panini, one of the sports industry's leading manufacturers, mailed him a box of cards and stickers to sign in 2023 when Merrill was the top prospect with the Padres AA club in San Antonio. Shout out to the San Antonio Missions. At the end of the minor league season, a Reddit user posted photos of unsigned cards saying they had been found in a trash compactor at an apartment complex. Merrill says he was not the one who put them there. I would never throw away cards, he said. I literally think I might have just left them by accident and they just threw them away. But it wasn't like I was going to sign them. That's what they pay me for. Why would you throw away cards you can make money off of? It makes no sense. So after that, people just been on me about my autograph, and I don't like card people and how I don't like card people. It's not that, dude. I just don't have an interest in it. And then it kind of talks about some of the sales that have had his Bowman cards. So I wish BroPo was here so we can kind of get like a little bit back and forth on this one. But I'm curious to get y'all's opinion on the signature of Jackson Merrill, because obviously he's a guy that, you know, has basically said that he'll put more effort into a card that's maybe like a one-of-one or, you know, a superfractor or whatever the case may be. But if it's a normal Bowman auto or a normal Topps base auto or a normal Topps base chrome auto, that his auto might not be the best. I'm curious on that opinion, because I agree with him 100%. You know, if I was doing something I wouldn't like, I wouldn't like it. But obviously I want to put a little bit more effort into it, you know. For me personally, like if I was a baseball player signing cards, obviously I do this for a living. I love this stuff. So obviously I'm going to put my best effort into putting it into an autograph. But if I was a ball player and didn't, you know, like signing cards or was not into cards, you know, these companies are paying me to, you know, have at least a good card at least. And hopefully it goes to someone who's going to enjoy and or collects my cards. So, you know, I would like a little bit more effort into the auto, but I mean, I guess I do get his viewpoint as far as you know, maybe not wanting to put his best foot forward when it comes to an autograph. And you can tell there's a big difference between those who enjoy cards and love, you know, the hobby, and there's those who, you know, like Jackson Merrill, who, you know, maybe don't give a damn and, you know, don't want to put their best foot forward when it comes to signing baseball cards. Like on this side here, if you guys are for the YouTube viewers, you guys see there, I have a Josh Jung auto, and you guys know that Josh Jung is very well known in the hobby. He collects and, you know, rips cards. So, and his autographs are awesome. Like I have that card. I had a 250 purple chrome. I had it, then I sold it. And that auto was great. You look at cards like Mike Trout. His auto was great. Again, another player who's very, very much involved in the hobby and, you know, loves ripping cards. You know, had that cool video with him and his son when they ripped open the Bowman card, or ripped open the Bowman box and pulled his card. I think on the first pack too. So Yeah, it's just very interesting to get, different perspectives from somebody who, doesn't really care about cards, is not really into it. And, we as hobbyists, we as card collectors or people who love to talk about cards, we're definitely noticed the changes of Merrill Auto. So it was very interesting to see that article on here, and I thought it was a very interesting topic. So I'm curious to get y'all's opinion on it. Feel free to tweet me at Moon3PO, or message me on Twitter or wherever you want to call it these days, to carry on the conversation, or, go to YouTube, leave a comment on this video, on the podcast video, to see what you guys think about that. Because, yeah, I just thought it was very interesting. Again, my thought would be, I would love a little bit more thought into the auto, if I'm not completely honest. But again, I can totally see it from his perspective, where, he doesn't like cards. He's not really big into it. And, he feels, maybe the one-of-ones or, the superfractors or the more rare cards are the ones that deserve a little bit more attention than, the normal base card autos, which I get. But I mean, hey, if somebody's spending, X amount of dollars on a card, or, X amount of dollars on a box, maybe you want to make sure that you're ensuring that, the person who's buying that or getting that card is getting well worth their money. All right. So again, as a one-man show, a little bit difficult, as far as of, things to talk about. You guys are only getting my opinion, which hopefully you guys, are enjoying the podcast episode so far. But before, we quickly, wrap things up, I just wanted to quickly do a quick little glance over of how the MLB standings are looking like right now. What I just talked about, I am recording this on Saturday, so as far as officially weekend here, these records may have changed as you're listening to this on Monday, but these are where the standings are as far as of Saturday night. So we have the New York Yankees at 6-2 with the Torpedo Bats leading the way, so they are first place, have a current winning streak of 3, putting an absolute beating on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Toronto Blue Jays are at 5-4. The Boston Red Sox, my Boston Red Sox, are 4-4, but hopefully by Monday they are 6-4. They do have a doubleheader scheduled for Sunday. We got the Tampa Bay Rays at 4-4 and Baltimore Orioles at 4-5. In the AL Central, we have the Detroit Tigers at 4-4, the Guardians at 3-5, the Kansas City Royals at 3-5, Minnesota Twins at 3-5, and the Chicago White Sox at 2-6. AL West, the Texas Rangers are 7-2. The Los Angeles Angels are 5-3. The Oakland, not the Oakland Athletics. I'm sorry, just the Athletics are 4-5. The Houston Astros are 3-5, and the Seattle Mariners are 3-6. The Philadelphia Phillies are 6-2. New York Mets are 5-3. Miami Marlins are 5-4. Washington Nationals are 2-6, and the Atlanta Braves are 1-8. Is it time to worry about? There are things to be worried about in Atlanta. It's a little bit tough out there. Chicago Cubs are 7-4. St. Louis Cardinals are 4-3. Milwaukee Brewers are 4-5. Cincinnati Reds are 3-6. Pittsburgh Pirates are 2-7. And then the Los Angeles Dodgers no longer undefeated. They are 9-1. Giants are 7-1. Padres are 7-2. Arizona Diamondbacks 5-4, and the Colorado Rockies are 1-7. I know it's early, but the fact that 4 out of 5 teams in that division are above 500, absolutely ridiculous. Probably is the toughest division in all of baseball. I think obviously we're not even a full month into baseball. These rankings and spots are obviously going to change by the end of the year, or by Monday probably will be changed. But I always like to say you can't win the division in April, but you can definitely lose it in April. And I think a team that's in that group is the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves, man, 1-8. That's just a real tough spot to be in right now. Even worse with Jurickson Profar being suspended for 80 games for, I believe it was like a human growth hormone or something like that. They're in a tough spot right now. Ronaldo Lopez is out with a shoulder injury. Maybe the addition to Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna will definitely help. Hopefully, I know last time Ronald Acuna came back from the ACL injury, he didn't get off to the best of start. So hopefully, he can improve on that. But yeah, the Atlanta Braves, man, are just in a real tough spot. I think some surprises right now are the Giants 7-1. Did not have the Giants at 7-1. And the San Diego Padres 7-2. They were undefeated heading into the weekend, but I mean 7-2. I feel like a lot of people, kind of slept on them a little bit. They lost some players, but they made some good additions. They added Nick Pivetta to the rotation. Lost guys like Tanner Scott, those kind of guys, but I mean, San Diego Padres 7-2, like, hey, they're kind of putting the little bit of letting us know, like, hey, like, we're still here. We're still that team that took the Dodgers in the postseason, or almost took them in the postseason, and gave them a fight. So they're letting us know about that. Arizona Diamondbacks 5-4. Not worried about them. I think they're a real talented team, man. I watched a little bit of their games with the Yankees. They're just a really, really talented team. Going to be exciting to see what they do as a full 162. Looking on here moving forward, we talked about the Rangers a little bit. Again, if they could stay healthy, I had them winning the AL West, so that's me 7-2. That's a good start for them. The AL Central right now is giving you a good idea of what the division is like. Every team in there at 500 except basically at 500 or lower, nothing higher than 500. So that's giving you an idea of what to expect moving forward. And obviously with the AL East here, the New York Yankees at 6-2, showing even with the injuries to their pitching staff, the offense maybe not being the biggest names out there, that they're still putting on a show. And maybe it's with those torpedo bats. I really don't know. Aaron Judge not even using a torpedo bat, and he's still putting up MVP type numbers, which I thought he was gonna have a great year, but I think that with the loss of Juan Soto, I didn't think he was gonna be like getting pitched to as much. But yeah, he's obviously crushing the baseball, so shout out to him. And obviously the Boston Red Sox at 4-4, winners of 3 in a row. I'm pretty sure you guys are listening to this episode and be like, Moon, you just glazed Garrett Crochet and Christian Campbell, but you're going to completely ignore Rafael Devers. I would talk about it, and I guess I'll talk about it here a little bit. Obviously, yes, Rafael Devers, that was very worrisome. He did not look right at the plate at all. But if you were watching the Red Sox games, you would know that it wasn't a case of where he was like swinging out of the zone and just be wild and, didn't know what he was swinging at. Like, the dude was still taking his walks. Alrighty, guys, I'm running into some technical difficulties here. My camera, I think, is like either overheating or dying. I don't know what's going on with it, but I'm gonna just wrap this up here. Rafael Devers, I'm not worried about Rafael Devers. He's hitting the baseball, he's walking, he's hitting the ball. I'm not worried about it. So, he will be fine. And so will the Boston Red Sox, World Series champions, 2025. Book it. But yeah, that's all I really had, to be honest with you, in store as far as an episode. Didn't really have too much written here. Just wanted to get an episode out for the week. We'll probably be back either Friday or next week. And then, like we just talked about in the intro, BroPo will be back in about 2 weeks or so. So we'll be back in full swing and we'll break down everything that's top releases, top cards, things like that. What players are hot and cold that are affecting their card prices. We're going to talk all about all that. What players we're buying, what players we're selling, things, all that. We're going to go balls deep into it. So we'll be back in full swing. So, again, hope you guys enjoyed this little short, but we're back. Baseball podcast episode from Cardboard Dugout. I am once again your host, Moon3PO. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to follow me at Moon3PO on all my socials. Links will be all in the description down in all of the wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. My links will be down in the description along with BroPo's ad data collects. It will be all in the description. So if you guys want to follow us there, please feel free to follow us there. And if you guys enjoyed this this little short episode here, please feel free to leave a like, follow, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, please make sure you are subscribed and following, and make sure you have the notifications on so you guys are aware when we do upload an episode. But I do thank you guys for listening, watching, and showing us all support. BroPo and I, we really, really do appreciate it. We appreciate all support that you've been showing, all the love that you've been showing it. We really do appreciate you guys. But yeah, that's all we had in store here for this quick little episode of Cardboard Dugout. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we will see y'all in the next one.